Welcome, kiddies, to the Critique Podcast. My name's Kenny, and I'm here today with a couple of co-hosts. I have Godden in the house and John, and together we're here to watch and review every horrific, often hilarious episode of the legendary HBO anthology series, Tales from the Crypt. And here we are today. There were three of us all on the line here. We're looking so good. What's up? My name's Kenny.
Well, my name's Godden.
Yes, I'm the guest, John.
Welcome, guest John.
Nice to be here.
John, you joined us. The last time you joined us was for another one of your favorite episodes. Counting cards or cutting cards?
Cutting cards.
Cutting cards.
Cutting cards.
Yeah, that was
Still
a good
ranks
one.
amongst my favorites, but this one is close on its heels, I think.
Oh, this is you picked two really good episodes to be part of. And I remember not giving cutting cards a 5 because I just didn't feel like it was quite there on the gore level or the practical effects level. It didn't quite get there for me, but the story was phenomenal. I love the dialogue between those two characters. That was a really good episode to be part of.
I agree.
Right.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Well, thanks for joining us on our season 3, by the way. We're on season 3. So today we're here to talk about, like I said, season 3, episode 2, Carrion Death. It aired on June 15th, 1991. It comes to us from the comic Shock Suspense Stories. And before we get into it, I do want to just put a disclaimer out there. We are not experts. We are not professionals. This is a hobby of ours. We're just a group of friends who enjoy Tales from the Crypt. We watch the episodes. We use this as a platform to just go on about it and just talk about what we liked and what we didn't like. If you agree with us or disagree with us, please use the comments down below to share your thoughts and ideas. And one last little disclaimer is a spoiler warning. If you have not seen this episode, go watch it first, then come back and watch us talk about it, because this is one of those twists. This is worth it. This is really worth experiencing this episode from beginning to end on your own before you hear us spoil it. So make sure you go watch it. And with that out of the way, let's dig in. So let's talk about the ancient texts, inked in human blood, bound in human flesh, on the back of the DVD box set here. Carrion Death. A robber fleeing in the desert kills the pursuing cop who cuffs him, but the lawman swallows the handcuff key before dying. That was pretty good.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I would do is I would
sums up the episode.
It does. Yeah. It sums up the episode very, very well. The only thing I would do, I would add one thing. I would just say this. All the while, these men are being pursued by a pesky vulture. That's one thing I would add to it, right? Just to kind of add a little bit of secret sauce to the episode. So before we do dig in, I just wanted to kind of go around and just get our overall thoughts, our general thoughts about the episode before we really dive into it. So, John, what are your overall, just general thoughts about the episode?
I think it's maybe the greatest piece of media that's ever been produced in like at least the last 100 years. It's the moral tale of how we get what is coming to us, right? This is like, it's a very common theme throughout Tales of the Crypt, but in this case, it's a tale of a person in the desert. It's a very biblical tale, and it just sums up everything about being American in the 1990s. And also, it's really campy and stupid. So it's got both of those. It's exactly what we want from something from Tales from the Crypt, and I think that it's borderline the best episode, even though the performance there's not a lot of characters in this one, which I appreciate. There's just Kyle MacLachlan, who really doesn't phone it in, but is I think over the top in a way that you can't replicate in anything that's made in today's world. And I appreciate the camp. I appreciate the over zealous acting. I mean, Diggs is a modern hero of cinema, even if he's not perfect in every way. You know, at least he didn't. He says, "I didn't even rape those girls until after I killed them." So that's the kind of humor that's on display for this episode. But I just think that it's a fantastic episode, and it's an embodiment of our culture.
But you did bring up really important things to me too in the Tales from the Crypt episode. I want the camp. I want that moral ambiguity. I want the karma, right? The evil characters getting what they deserve by the end. It has all of that in some of the most glorious ways. And you also touched on the fact that it had so few characters. I've always liked stories that have very, very few characters. Yeah, this just has the two and then eventually just the one. So it's really, really good. It's good. Godden, your general thoughts?
I enjoyed it a lot. It's really hard to nitpick this one. I can't think of anything that's bad that comes to mind, except him being a bad character. But no, they, like what John said, this might be one of the best ones they've had, and why. So season 3's off to a good start.
Yeah, well, the last episode was a bit of a rough one.
It's the same bunch.
Yeah.
It's the first 3.
It's a good episode. And the main character being the bad guy, he's clearly the bad guy. And we'll get there. I'm going to get ahead of myself here because the opening line of dialogue is basically what I want to get to here. So let's get to the Crypt Keeper intro. So the Crypt Keeper actually arrives on a motorcycle or a police cruiser, right? A police motorcycle cruiser. The bike pulls up, it stops. He gets off the motorcycle. He actually walks over to his little podium area and walks his way up. He says, "Good evening, felons. Time to assume the position, if you know what I mean, and prepare for another assault and battery on your senses. Tonight's seamy saga is about a nice young man with a very bad attitude. In fact, it's positively criminal. I call this game of chops and clobbers Carrion Death." And in this intro, yeah, you do. You actually see the Crypt Keeper get off the motorcycle and walk over to his podium. And it's all shot from low, so it's clearly an actor walking. But then as he walks off screen, the Crypt Keeper's upper torso kind of climbs up to the top. And they do such a great job, great choreography with everything that's going on here. I love when they really get into the Crypt Keeper intro, because most of the time the camera shows up and he's just already sitting there in position. So to actually see him arrive, I love it. It's very exciting for me. I love the Crypt Keeper, and I love these little, these extra flourishes that they put on these opening segments. All right, so that brings us to the opening panel. It's our main character, okay, and he is lying in the desert. You can see the glowing sun behind him, right? And you've got a vulture actually biting his eye out. And the one interesting detail in this is he's grabbing the vulture's neck as if trying to pull it away, which of course he couldn't do in the final scene of the episode. But in the opening panel, he's grabbing onto the vulture, I noticed.
Because he, spoilers, doesn't have that hand.
Not only does he not have that hand, he doesn't have the ability to move it if he had it. Spoilers.
Right. He broke every bone in his body falling 10 feet.
Oh, right. There's that part too. We'll get there. That's something we noticed too. All right. So, and this is what I wanted to get at right up front here. The opening scene is of like an old Western town, like very like ghost towny type of town. And you hear the man on the inside say, "Move, bitch." And he runs out and he points his gun back inside and he shoots inside the store. I think this is the bank, actually.
It's a bank, yeah.
So he shoots into the bank and then he runs away with a bag full of money. He gets into his car and he drives away. And you hear the radio while he's driving away. He's listening to the radio, basically summarizing giving us the exposition here, right? This is Diggs. He escaped from prison. He actually took hostage the doctor who was supposed to be checking on him and killed the doctor, killed the prison guard, escaped from prison. And now he's robbed this bank. He shot more people. So clearly a bad guy, right? By all means of measure. But right away, just his smug attitude, his funny demeanor, everything about him. Already I'm into this guy. I like him. I like this guy, even though we're not supposed to. So this is an episode where they do such a great job at making a character you're not supposed to like very likable. Even when the radio is describing him as he's armed and extremely dangerous, and he's smoking a cigarette and he takes a puff and he goes, and very rich. I just like this character. Already, he's very likable to me.
Yes. I think it's likable, and also I think he's like a dumb charming as well. Like he has one bag of money and he thinks that he's filthy rich.
Yeah, that's something else I was wondering, because he says he's filthy rich, and I thought, well, how many places did he rob then, I wonder? Or maybe
Oh, yeah.
right, so maybe this isn't the only place
I think it was just the one.
Maybe.
Because there is a scene that's coming up where he loses the money, and it is just one bag that gets thrown into the wind.
Well, he's also on his way to Mexico, so I wonder how many pesos I can buy him.
Yeah, the conversion.
Good.
That's probably why he's rich.
Great point.
Yeah.
He was planning on going to Mexico.
I don't know if you can read too much into any part of this, but that's really not the point. The point is, he robbed a place, he's rich, and he's just a likable guy despite him being the villain. And this is how I knew how much I liked him, because the very next moment, he looks into a side view mirror, and then you see the cop coming in. And my first thought was like, oh no, he's going to get caught. And this chase scene here, I think, is so much fun because they do a good job with it. I think that all the cinematography here is done so well. He looks in the side view mirror, he sees the cop, and then he gets more alert, and then he looks back and it's gone. Right. But then he looks up and he's right beside him and he's shooting at him. And then there's a shootout, and then there's he knocks him down, and then there's just so much going on here that it's just so much fun to watch. I like this chase scene. It was just a short, simple, but fun chase scene. I liked it. And the fact that it wasn't like a bunch of cops after him. It was just the one cop. That also kind of made it, like you said, the minimizing the amount of characters makes it a lot more fun and easily relatable to the individual characters.
And the episode has to rely a lot on him voicing his concerns audibly, but it works with the performance because he's so over the top that it's almost like an inner dialogue, but he's actually speaking it out to himself because he's somewhat of a madman. So I mean, to me, it works, and to me, I think that chase scene as well as the scenes that follow, I'll let you get to the next scene.
Yeah.
But there's one in particular that I thought was well done, and it very much so reminded me of that movie, They Live.
Oh, okay. I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, I do like how he says out loud his internal dialogue. It's something that you can imagine him doing anyway, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like he's talking out loud, so we know as the audience what's going on. But it's just something that we can see a character like that doing anyway. Like, yeah, now I'm going to put this thing over here, and now I'm going to take this, and I'm going to do that with it. Like I can just see him doing that anyway.
Yeah. Have you seen that movie Duel? I mean, it's Steven Spielberg's first movie, famously, and there's a scene where he's being chased by we don't ever see actually the person who chases him in that movie, but he's all of the dialogue is in his head. He doesn't actually speak any words, so it's a lot less over the top, but there's just less performance to give if it's all going to be in your mind.
Yeah, I'm glad that you brought up Duel. That's a great parallel to this one because they're in the middle of the desert. Duel is just that one character, and he's being pursued by some person in a big rig, and you never see that second character though. So it really is just that man versus somebody chasing him through the desert.
Yeah,
very, very
a truck.
A truck, yeah. Very, very closely related, actually. I didn't put those two together, but now that you mention it, this is very, very similar to Duel.
Yeah, I mean, Duel is a fantastic movie. For as minimalistic as it is, it's very much so Mad Max, another one. Minimalist, Mad Max Fury Road, rather. It's minimalist. Actually, all the Mad Max movies. They're all desert movies. They're all road movies. These sort of desert, solitary stories are very reminiscent of Exodus, right? I mean, it is a biblical tale. It is something that is probably been internalized through our culture, just over the generations. Then it just somehow it hits, right? I mean, they're fun stories to tell. Would you say this is a Western?
Is this a Western? I'm gonna say, yeah, this might be a modern day Western, right? You got the cops and robbers. It's cops and robbers. I would say so. They're not necessarily riding on horseback, running away from each other, but yeah, they got their vehicles. Yeah, the only thing we're missing is a legitimate duel. Yeah,
they did have an extended fight scene.
Oh, they did, but I'm thinking like an actual duel. I guess they did because when the cop was chasing him, he turned his car around and they were driving at each other and they were shooting at each other. So that you can consider that being kind of like a duel, right?
Yeah.
So anyway,
it was kind of like a jousting.
Yeah.
With guns.
Right. So that brings us back to where we left off in the episode with that chase scene. The chase scene ends with them driving at each other. He ends up shooting the cop's back tire. The cop jumps off the vehicle and goes in like down the embankment. The motorcycle just keeps going on its own, crashes into the car, and they blow up. Both men lose their vehicles. And at this point, Diggs like walks around, collects all the money, puts it back into the bag, and he goes to look at the cop who's laying on the ground, and he says, 10-4, asshole. All the good lines in this. Oh, by the way, when the vehicles crashed and exploded, you see the explosion from way far away, and that's where we meet the vulture. The vulture sees the explosion, and that's what kind of gets the vulture's attention. It flies in, and it actually goes onto the rooftop of the vehicle, and the Diggs says, you hungry? There's a civil servant lunch right over there. By the way, whenever this vulture comes into scene, I don't know if you noticed this, the vulture never actually flies on its own into the scene. You could tell there's like a stagehand somewhere off camera just throwing the vulture where it's supposed to land. Have you noticed how clumsily the vulture comes into scene?
I noticed that there was a few times where the vulture was either off screen or on screen, but never. It's not like a very good actor, perhaps. So it does seem very timely of the early 1990s for the stagehands to probably just throw him on screen.
Yeah, you just throw him right on screen. He even like at one point he even like loses his footing and like rolls into frame.
Yeah. What am I supposed to do?
So the Diggs leaves the scene of the crash, and this is when the cop wakes up. He comes to. So the cop's not dead. He gets up. He gets himself to the crash site, and this is where he basically, says, it's on, right? I'm going to get you. He even points to the vulture, and he says, just remember, I saw him first. And this is the first indication where you get, like, the cop. I think the cop at this point is taking it very personal. This is like a personal vendetta that the cop now has. Because the normal cop would be like, all right, I'm going back to home base, right? I'm going to get back up or whatever. But he just pursues this guy on foot in the middle of the desert. So at this point, this is where you realize, okay, this cop has got it out for Diggs. And from there, we get like a walking montage of the two men just walking through the blazing sun. The whole time, the vulture's kind of circling around Diggs. Diggs finally finds kind of like a bench to sit on, like a log to sit on. And while he's kind of relaxing, he gets shot at. The cop finds him. He gets shot at. So he runs off, leaving the bag of money. The cop makes it to the site, picks up the bag of money, which, by the way, at this point, you can see the front of the bag, and it actually has the money logo on the bag, just in case you didn't know what was inside the bag.
That's right. We needed the visual representation of what was in that bag.
Yeah. It adds to the comic book-esque nature of these episodes, right? On a comic book, you would have that money sign too. So this point, you get more of that cop clearly taking this personal. He shouts, Diggs, I know you can hear me. I will take you down. And he takes the bag of money and he throws it all out. This is where you get more of that. Yeah, like this cop's this is evidence. And the cop's just throwing away the evidence. Like he doesn't care about the money. He doesn't care, I don't think, about doing his job. He just wants to get Diggs.
Maybe, actually, think about it now. Maybe the first scene when he shoots at the bank, he kills another person that was probably a cop. That might have been his friend or something. Because he's not, he's like leaving his duties as a cop. And like you said, a personal vendetta now. So a lot more motivation after the car crash, and maybe it was his partner that died. And he's like,
or maybe his partner who died in prison when he killed the guard. Yeah, maybe
the doctor's his friend too.
Yeah. But all that could be the case. We don't need the backstory. It's not important. But the fact that, it's the fact that you could go down those rabbit holes tells you that, there's plausibility to all this.
Yeah, the cop is definitely not acting like a normal cop would act in this situation. He doesn't take off his jacket. It's blazing hot sun. He doesn't take off his headgear, right? He's like a Terminator in a sense. Did this predate Terminator 2?
So T2 came out a month before this episode had come out. It came out in July of 91, and this came out in June of 91. They can shoot. These episodes. I'm sure the turnaround time on these episodes was pretty short.
Yeah. So did you say this came out after?
A month after.
Oh, okay. So yeah, maybe there was some like weird something in the zeitgeist at the time.
Yeah,
where they were like, we need cops with aviator glasses and helmets that are pursuing someone on foot.
Yeah. Because I got some Terminator vibes from this as well, because it takes a while for the cop to talk. The cop doesn't have much dialogue. And to be honest with you, I don't think the cop needed to talk. The cop, if the cop didn't talk, that would have been an interesting way to do the episode too. But I definitely got some Terminator vibes from this. And when the cop rolled down the embankment and then it finally woke up, if we had gotten a shot from the cop's perspective of like a loading screen, you know, like it wouldn't have surprised me. Like it was that he seemed that robotic or just that. I don't know. Yes. I got those vibes. I like this next scene, by the way. This is where he comes upon that sign, that knockdown sign. So he walks to this knockdown sign, he props it up, and the arrows, like we've all seen this gag. It's even in Jurassic Park, right? Where the arrow's like loose and it can twist. So he twists it to try to figure out where it was pointing. And I love this moment. This was a really good moment that caught my attention. As he points it far out into the distance, the arrow points straight out into the distance. And in that moment, you see a glare out in the middle of the desert. Like, oh, that's where I got to get there. And just the way that whole scene was put together, I thought was so good. I can imagine the choreography needed for this would be extraordinary. But as he points the arrow down, there must be somebody like a quarter mile out in the middle of the desert holding up a giant mirror or a glass or something and shining the reflection into the camera just as he points the arrow out to make that glare. I just thought that was a great touch of detail. Nowadays, that would probably be CGI. But the fact that they had somebody out there doing it, just looked so nice. I think that it would be done in
post.
What's that?
No. I said, I think it would be done in post.
Yeah, so I like that. But today it would have been a post thing. It would have been a CGI thing. But just to see that practicality, I loved it. I watched that scene a couple of times. I thought it was really, really neat. While he's playing with the sign, by the way, the vulture's there. And so he points the arrow. Now he knows where he needs to go, right? The vulture sees this, and this is a really good part. The vulture actually goes back to where the cop is and gets the cop's attention and then flies off. And the cop even says, "You trying to tell me something?" So he follows the vulture and he sees the sign and he sees where it's pointing. So he knows where Diggs is going. He says, "Thanks, partner." So the vulture's actually the vulture's actually helping out the officer. I think at this point, the vulture already picked who it wants to eat.
Yeah, I think so.
And I think that he's the most calm character in the movie is the vulture, and patiently waiting for his turn. And I think it's very clear that it's like he's the Grim Reaper coming for the bad guy. That's all it wants is the bad guy. It's time for him to get his retribution.
Oh, the vulture is the Grim Reaper.
I think so. It's called Carrion Death.
Yes.
Right. Death is the Reaper.
Death is my gosh.
And Carrion is the vulture.
He was about to be executed too.
The vulture becomes executed.
So the vulture becomes the executioner.
It's basically a Final Destination movie.
Oh my gosh. Oh, and speaking of death and executioner, when the cop realizes where he's going, he says out loud to himself, "I hope you enjoyed your meal, Diggs, because it's going to be your last. Your executioner is ready." So who's his executioner? I think he's referring to the vulture. The vulture's ready. I think that's what he means. Oh, the plot thickens. So this next scene is where we get this is where I think part of the twist happens. So they find this shack, or Diggs finds this shack, kind of a makeshift shelter. And while he's kind of searching around this little house area, the cop finally catches up. And this is where that fight happens. It's almost like a saloon brawl, right? Kind of throwing each other around, they're beating each other up. And then also during this fight scene, I like that there's a window, right? And then outside the window while they're fighting, you can see the vulture actually perched up on the sign outside, watching this whole fight happen. So they're going back and forth. The cop manages to actually cuff Diggs to himself. So the cop and Diggs are handcuffed together, but then Diggs grabs a gun and shoots the cop, and the cop dies. But as the cop's dying, he takes the key, he swallows the key. So now he's basically chained to the cop, and that's the rest of the episode is basically dragging a dead body around like Weekend at Bernie's style, right?
Yes, yeah.
But all the while, the vulture's watching.
And there's another dead body there that the vulture never descends on, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he has that. You would imagine the vulture would be looking. Oh, is he waiting around to eat that dead body? No, it's not. It's not that at all. It's basically saying, I'm here and I'm waiting for your fate. Which is, I mean, how human is that? Memento mori. We're all going to die.
Yeah, and the fact that the vulture is just waiting so patiently for what it really wants, because it's. I don't think it's the fact that it's hungry, because there is a dead body there that they can just go get. In fact, the cop was already knocked out for a while. It could have went and pecked at him for a while. I think what it really wants is Diggs. It's not about feeding; it's about punishment, I think.
Yeah.
Ooh, this is getting
crime
deep.
and punishment.
Getting deep. Oh, by the way, did you notice on the sign there was directions to a place called Pollo Loco? I thought that was funny just because the vulture was standing on a sign that said Pollo Loco.
I did notice that. I love these little touches. They always add these. It's very similar to like the way that Futurama does, where they have these like background signs or like little Easter eggs that are like spread throughout the episodes. That's a lot of fun with Tales from the Crypt.
Yeah, I think that's a sign of a passion project rather than just having a job, right? If the directors and writers and actors all just had a job to do and that's how they saw it, then they would just show up and they would do their job and then go home. But if it's a passion project, you get little nuances like this. Like, hey, also, wouldn't it be funny if there was a pollo? Yeah, that would be funny. Let's have that made and put that up here. Like little things like that, I think those little extra flares, those little extra flourishes really help to just make the viewer, make viewing it that much more exciting and fun. Little Easter eggs like that.
Yeah. And before you move on, about that fight, it was an extended sequence. That is what reminds me of that movie, They Live, where Roddy Piper and Keith David, their characters, they meet and they have like an extended 13-minute like fist fight. It did get to that point for a 27-minute episode. They're fighting for like 4 minutes of it, just like hand-to-hand combat. So that's
put on the glasses. Put on the glasses.
Yeah.
Yeah, that whole fight scene is just absurdly like long.
Because they were both wrestlers.
Yeah,
so it's just like that's just what they knew. They're just like, let's just go at it for a while. Okay. That was good. So I like this next scene. It sets up how he's making his way through the desert with this cop chained to him. He basically has him draped over his back like a backpack. He's walking through the desert with this man draped over his shoulders, and he's basically venting. Or I consider it like confessing all of his sins to this dead officer, and he says, "I didn't even mutilate those women while they were alive, right? Like I waited till they were dead, and also if they knew about the 5 back in Kansas, I'd still be on trial." Like he's just going on and on confessing all of his previous murders and what he's done in the past. And
yes. He's trying to have a redemption arc. It's his attempt at being like, maybe there is some hope for me because I'm not as bad as they made me out to be.
No, but yeah, but I guess, but he's also, but if they knew about the 5 back in Kansas, I think he's almost gloating. Like, look what I got away with.
Oh yeah, that is another take on it. I'm thinking that he's trying to justify himself because he knows that he did wrong.
Yeah. And he ends it by saying, women, can't live with him, can't fit him in the trunk of your car. Like, I wonder how many women he tried to fit in the back of his car. So while he's traveling, there's a sandstorm, and I actually like this scene a lot. So he's dragging the cop through the sandstorm, and he finally ends up taking shelter underneath the cop. So he's lying on the ground, the cop's on top of him, but the way it's filmed from above, you see the cop covered in dirt, and the cop actually starts to move. Like he moves his leg, and then he moves his hand. He starts to kind of prop himself up, and you think, "Oh my gosh, is this cop alive?" But it's him getting out from underneath the cop. It was a neat scene to make it kind of like allude at the fact that maybe the cop's still alive. He wasn't, but it looked that way. I thought that was kind of neat. And when he finally gets up after the sandstorm, that's where he sees the final hill, right? He sees basically he's made it. All he's got to do is get up and over this. Well, from this perspective, it looks like a hill, but it's like a small mountain, right? So when he sees this final hill, he's got to get over. He's so happy he actually dances with the corpse of the cop, and I think he even kisses him. He kisses him too because he goes bah, bah, and he spits.
He kisses him.
So he starts climbing up over the mountain, dragging the cop with him. And all the while, the vulture's just kind of sitting there watching him climb. And he starts taunting the vulture. I beat you, as he's climbing up and climbing up. He finally gets to the top. He can see out into the distance. He sees Mexico. That's where he's gotten there, basically. And he's so happy. He's just marveling at the sight. All the while, this dead, stiff corpse of a cop behind him is just like wobbling back, and then it finally leans back and falls down and drags him down the other side of the hill, basically. And from here, this is where we get, I think, Diggs really starts to lose it here. You see first-person view of his vision start to have those trails, like he's very dehydrated. He's starting to get really delusional. You get the close-ups on his face where he's just kind of like looking really strange and delirious. So he's starting to lose it. He's starting to get desperate, and he's had enough of this cop dragging him everywhere. So he grabs the badge from the officer. He wedges it into a stick, right, and sharpens it as an axe. So he has a makeshift axe, and I think his plan is to chop the hand off of the cop. I think is his plan. But again, you see his vision, and he just can't see straight. He's got all kinds of trails going on. So he takes a whack, and he holds up his own hand, and of course, he chopped his own hand. And the practical effects here were on point. Okay, you saw the gouge in this.
Done.
The gouge in the side of his wrist, spewing out blood. You see it tearing away from his arm, and then you see his hand doing, like it's his hand, but the prosthetics are. It looked really, really good. And at this point, he falls back. He falls over a cliff. The cop's still above. He's dangling from the cuff, and it's all in shot. It looks so good. You see his hand rip away from his arm, and he falls down. And this is the finale where he falls down, and during the fall, he breaks his neck. So he's paralyzed from the neck down. I guess he's like a quadriplegic. He can't move any of his limbs. And this is where the vulture finally gets what it wants. It dives down onto him. He can't defend himself, and the vulture basically eats him alive, starting with his eyeballs. And I heard this is true, by the way. I heard a vulture, when it comes across a new corpse, the first thing it goes for are the eyes. Is that true?
I have no idea, but it sounds true. And I'm going to say it's true, because if you thought it, then maybe it's true. You must have heard it somewhere.
I must have heard it somewhere, and it stuck with me. And it makes sense to me, because they seem, if I was a scavenger, if I was a vulture, okay, and I was coming across dead corpse after dead corpse after dead corpse, an eyeball sounds pretty good. I'm gonna go for the eyeball rather than dig into the intestines and you don't
start with the intestines. There's metal in there.
For the officer there is, because he swallowed the key. But I would start with the eyeballs. They to me seem like they might even be like a little bit snappy and juicy, like a grape.
That's what it is.
I'm sure. If you know, comment. Okay, leave it in the comments. What does a vulture go first if it comes across a new corpse? I'm willing to say the eyeballs.
We just need a vulturologist to tell us what a vulture would actually do in that situation.
No. So that's what it does. The vulture goes for his eyes first, and then we get that long shot as it zooms out as the vulture is feasting off of the face of Diggs. So Diggs finally gets what he deserves. We fade out back to the crypt keeper, who actually has a vulture there with him, and he takes the eyeball that the vulture had in his beak, plucks the eyeball away, and says, "Poor Diggs, here today, leftovers tomorrow." Boy, talk about flipping someone the bird. Personally, I'm with the buzzards, except I like my meat a little more well done. Cook 'em, Dano.
Cackling.
And the cackling, and that's it. So what a great end to a great episode. I loved it. I loved this episode.
Yeah. This episode's a fun one. It's a romp, and I think that the character gets what he deserves, and everyone gets to feast on we get to feast our eyes on him getting his eyes feasted on.
Yes, I loved it. I do think everybody got what they deserved. I know the cop died, and I guess the question would be, did the cop also get what he deserved? And I think maybe, because he clearly had a vendetta against this man, right? He wasn't just doing his job. He was going above and beyond in a way that put him at jeopardy, honestly. Like, he could have went and called for backup. He could have went back to the police station and got another vehicle. You know, he could have worked with the Mexican law enforcement to try to get something to go on here. Like, he didn't have to go this much extra. He really put himself in danger, and I think it was for something that was more personal. So, yeah, the cop, did a little extra. I think he was a little more sadistic than he needed to be.
I think that's how people are, though. Like, I feel like cops actually do this. Maybe not to the extent in this episode, because this was an allegory, right? I mean, they're archetyped characters, and they're meant to tell us stories about ourselves as metaphors. But cops do overreach when they feel insulted by a member of the public. And in this case, I think that the best choice for the cop would have been to get more people to go after this armed and dangerous escaped criminal. But he thought he could do it all by himself.
Yeah, he had what we call the Superman complex, right? And for that moment, he felt like maybe he was wearing a cape, like he was going to take down this vigilante. I was going to say he's like a vigilante, but he's not, because he is a cop. He's not a vigilante. It was
vigilantism. I think it was vigilantism.
Yeah,
because of the, I would say that it was not an official act of the cop's duties to go after him alone, and in such it was a vendetta in from my view.
Yeah. Okay. So as far as similarities, we already touched on quite a bit of similarities. I had in my notes definitely the Terminator. The way this cop pursued this man, it was strikingly Terminator to me. And like I said, I wouldn't have been surprised if, he got burned or something, and then you saw like a metal endoskeleton. Like, I wouldn't have been surprised. It was so Terminator to me. And also Westworld. Have you seen Westworld? Any of you?
Just one episode.
Yeah.
But it looks good.
I've seen the first season.
Okay. I actually haven't watched any of the seasons, but I watched the movie. And in that one, it's in the desert, and there's a robot chasing after a man, and it's very similar to this as well. Like this relentless pursuing robot after this man in the desert. So I got vibes from that as well. Are there any other movies where there's like a relentless pursuer after somebody who just won't let up?
Michael Myers.
Oh yeah, like a horror. I guess this could be like a horror too, huh? Like a slasher horror where you're just constantly being pursued by, in this case, the villain is being pursued, but from our emotional perspective, it is like our hero is being pursued, right, by the villain. What about, you mentioned other stories that take place in the desert and it being very biblical. I agree. And I was trying to think of other movies that took place in the desert. You did a great job at coming up with a bunch. I liked Kill Bill. I liked where Beatrix Kiddo had to find her way to what's his face, the guy who got killed by the snake, Todd, or some one syllable name, right? But he lives out in the middle of the desert. She goes to get him, or Buck. I think
Sidewinder.
Sidewinder. What's his name in real life? I don't remember. Anyway,
not Buck.
She's in the middle of the desert to track him down. She ends up getting buried in the desert. She digs her way out, and then she basically is stranded in the middle of the desert, right? And she finally gets herself to a diner, right? But just that one little moment, I've always liked that moment in Kill Bill. So I definitely thought of that. But other like stranded or lost in the desert movies or whatnots that you can think of?
Duel, I think even more so is like this one. Almost like they took the playbook and they're like, let's make this into this nice campy horror movie or horror anthology episode. And
then the whole premise of an animal getting what it wants by the end, or where the animal serves as the moral punishment in some sorts. Can you think of anything else that does that? Cujo would be the opposite, right?
I want to say, You could say Jaws.
Jaws is a good one because it is all about that animal. Do you think that Jaws, the shark, acts in any way like as a moral punishment for sinful characters? I don't see it that way as much.
No, I don't see it that way with Jaws. I think that the characters are all innocent.
The one I can think of that's loose is the Raven, like for Edgar Allan Poe when they turned to a movie. The Raven would always show up at like the crime scenes or like before they were killed. So that was like out of instead of a vulture, it's a Raven.
Oh, interesting. Good. That's a good analogy too. You almost think of it like a raven, huh? Kind of like the raven is like a foreshadowing of death.
And his eye is devoured by the vulture, and so the man who refused to see his own guilt becomes literally blind.
Oh,
and literally dead.
And literally dead. The man who fails to see his own sins will become blind. That's pretty profound. I never thought of that. I was trying to think of why his eyes. I was trying to think why specifically his eyes rather than something like his tongue or like his ears or something, right? Like the fact that he went for his eyes was that's interesting. Well, any last closing thoughts before I wrap it up?
Even though it's just like a 27-minute anthology series episode, there's a lot of philosophical movements attempted by the filmmaker in this one. What it was saying about society. You might look at this and be like, it's just a campy, cheap, horror episode, right? But I think that it has a lot more to say, and I think that Tales from the Crypt itself is a very good comment on our society right now too, and I think that also it translates over time. Right, this episode translates because it's because of these philosophical movements that transcend time.
When I first watched it, the way I interpreted it was after he killed the cop, he kind of carries his sins with him up until like he witnesses what paradise is, right on the other side of the mountain. But then when he's like, "Oh, it's all downhill from here. It's just gonna be easy." Obviously, his sins pull him back. He falls down. He's like, "I'm sick and tired of this," and he wants to separate himself from that guilt, I suppose. And then, he ends up breaking his neck. And like what John said, he's blinded. He couldn't see his guilt. Like now he's just turned against him. And like the whole like just adventure of carrying his burdens and sins. But yeah, like it turns to him again because he doesn't deserve it. He doesn't deserve paradise. He doesn't deserve any of that.
Right. So, gosh, I like that parallel. I like that a lot. He's looking at his salvation. He's looking at paradise, and it's literally the man he murdered, his own sins that fall backwards and drag him back down the hill. Gosh, that's a great analogy. That's wonderful. Yeah. With that, I'm going to go right to rankings. This is without a doubt a 5. This is a 5 from me. Godden?
5 what?
5. Gosh darn it. I should have thought about this before. This is going to be 5 money bags.
I knew it. What about you, John?
I'd say I would also give it a 5 out of 5. And I would say that it's 500 miles to the next gas station.
I'm not bandwagoning, but yes, I also go to a 5. 5 vultures.
5 vultures.
His head and his limbs.
There you go. 1 for each limb and then his head. Yeah, fantastic episode. And a great episode after our episode 1 from season 3.
Yeah.
Episode 1, season 3, just so you know, because you weren't here for this one, John, was a dud. It was boring. I had to watch it multiple times to get the notes, and it was a chore to get through. This episode was such a great. So
this episo's so action packed.
Yes,
too.
it is. Every scene there's
something going on. It's not just
on.
people under stairs, like with a dusty, glass ball or whatever. Like they're crystal balls. Those episodes of Tales from the Crypt, not always my favorite ones, but I like the ones that have a lot more action, a lot more character, a lot more like big performances, because there's no point if you're not going to at least meet the Crypt Keeper where he's bringing, right? Like if the Crypt Keeper is bringing it, you don't want him to be the shining example of a performance in the episode.
That's true.
Right? Yeah.
So I appreciate Kyle MacLachlan's praised performance. And the same thing with cutting cards. I feel the same way.
Yeah. Good. That's a good point, because sometimes the Crypt Keeper is like the main highlight of like his little puns in the beginning and then the end. Yeah. By the time the Crypt Keeper gets there at the end for the outro, you want to feel, oh no, the episode's already over.
Yeah.
You want that feeling. You don't want to feel like, oh, thank goodness he's wrapping this one up. So the first 3 episodes of season 3, by the way, all premiered on the same day. So we're going to do the same thing for you. We're going to premiere our first, second, and third episode of season 3 all in one day. So if you're watching this episode, go back and you can watch the other 2 episodes from the opening. So there's 3 episodes for you today. Go find them, check them all out, and don't forget to comment. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share and all that kind of stuff. We're still trying to grow the community, which is where the comment section comes in. We really want your correspondence down there. So leave some comments. What's your favorite episode? What did you like about this episode? What did we miss? Did we go down any rabbit holes that you thought were ridiculous? Let us know. We want to know. We're here for the journey. We love Tales from the Crypt. We're just trying to start the conversation. You keep it going in the comments, and we'll respond and share them here on the podcast. So
imagine making it this far in the podcast as a listener and being like, no.
Right.
Not turning it off.
If you made it this far in the podcast and then you hear me talk about commenting and you're like, nah, come on.
Ow. No, I don't subscribe to this podcast.
So I also want to give some shout outs at this point. Now, if you like this whole format of Tales from the Crypt and just talking about the episodes, there are other podcasts out there who do exactly what we're doing. I'm going to go ahead and link their information down below so you can check this out. In addition to that, I also want to give a shout out to you and your girlfriend. Your girlfriend has a podcast, the Teach Her Amma, and she does the podcast with her brothers. She's never seen Futurama. Her brothers have, and that's basically the whole shtick of the show is they watch an episode of Futurama. She basically, is like the fresh eyes looking at the show while her brothers are there to kind of, talk about the nostalgia factor. So they do that.
And it's always fun to watch an episode of something that you love with someone who's never seen it before. The same goes for a movie. It's fun because they love it. And it's fun because she is watching it for the first time. It's not exactly the same experience as you would get necessarily if you were just watching it by yourself, just, on binging it or whatever.
Right. I agree. It's very fun to see. So sometimes you'll meet somebody who's never seen something and then you want to watch it with them. What? You've never seen The Terminator 2? We have a movie to watch.
Yes.
All right. With that, we are going to wrap up. If you want to follow along with us, then go watch season 3, episode 3, The Trap. That's going to be the next episode. And don't forget, the first 3 episodes of season 3 are all going to be released in the same day. So if you watch this one, but you haven't watched the other 2, go check those out. Until next time, which I don't know when it's going to be. If you watch today, then in a few minutes. But if you watch next week, then next week. Have a good and safe time, everybody. We'll see y'all next time. Have a good day, week, month. I don't know when I'll see you next. Bye.
Happy Halloween.
Well, how was that for a scream, boys and ghouls?